Today we're talking about the 20,000 Epstein files that got released. It's a complicated picture.
Now, you know what the crazy part is about the whole Epstein bit is that both sides of the aisle is already guilty. Because if you already had like Republicans and Democrats who was friends with Epstein or knew Epstein for years, then it's like both sides of the party is basically bad. I get it that Trump's the president and everybody wants to talk about that, but you had Bill Clinton, you had other people that was there that nobody seems like they don't want to talk about too much. But I get it because the folks the full part and the full point is Donald Trump. The full point is about Donald Trump. So I understand why they don't want to talk about everybody else, but everybody else that was there should be more talked about. But I get it.
Involving a lot of powerful people. But let me just say right up front, this is an ongoing story. There's a lot that's going to be released in the coming days. So just understand we're going to do our best to explain what has been happening, because this story has been full of twists and turns. It starts with the Democrats releasing 3 emails from the Jeffrey Epstein estate. One says that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. A victim spent hours at my house with him. Another says the victim, Mar-a-Lago, Trump says he asked me to resign. Never a member ever, Jeffrey.
See, my only take about all of this is that, okay, I highly doubt he's going to get impeached because everybody say, oh, Donald Trump going to get impeached. No, it's not going to happen. Now, unless you've had like maybe like 5 or 10 girls that came out and said at that time and point when they was like maybe underage or so and things did happen and they say, yeah, he was there, or more information that comes out. We'll see, but I highly doubt it because he's trying to get away from it and say, oh, the whole thing's a hoax, but not really though, because he was on the island and something most likely did happen on the island that he doesn't want to talk about. Nobody wants to talk about it, but everybody's just pointing blames and throwing fingers at each other. But if everything was to get exposed and everybody was to talk about it, I think it would probably be mutual destruction on both parties. When you really think about it.
Epstein. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine Maxwell to stop. And then the third email is from Michael Wolff talking about Jeffrey Epstein's association with Trump, saying you can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it looks like he really could win, you could save him generating a debt. Basically implying the idea that Epstein would have some kind of compromising information on Trump. But that was just the start of it, because then after that, the GOP came out swinging and they said Democrats whine about releasing the files, but they only cherry pick when they have them to generate clickbait. You deserve the full truth. And then they released over 20,000 files. Some of it had to do with Trump, some of it didn't. Importantly, 2 of the emails that were in there were some of the ones that the Democrats released, except they were unredacted in the GOP copy.
It would have been kind of dope if, imagine how they had everybody like in handcuffs, who all of the people that was there. I mean, I understand that there will be people that will not be in handcuffs, but imagine if they would have done like a massive firing of a lot of people who was there, celebrities, anybody who was there, right? Powerful people that was there, right? And you just see all these people in handcuffs. But imagine if they just had bags over their heads, but they was in handcuffs. But so you wouldn't know, but we would know because it's the public. Like, everybody would know because it's public knowledge. But it would be dope if they had them all in handcuffs and be like, take off the hood. And then it's like, oh, look, surprise, is this person, is that person. And then you're like, wait, I never expected this person to be down with this shit. What the fuck? Like, you was down there with the Epstein Island. You was doing what? Like, it would be kind of dope if they would have done something like that and just had people who was there and who was involved in those activities be arrested. But I highly doubt that's going to happen anytime soon.
And these lack of redactions are obviously very intentional. So we see first, I want you to realize the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. And then it says, Virginia spent hours at my house with him. Now that name is really important because it's Virginia Giuffre. She was the Prince Andrew accuser, but importantly, she did not accuse Trump, rather saying that he couldn't have been friendlier. This obviously is one of the main reasons the GOP appears to have released this, because in part, they're implying that, hey, if you release this redacted, people are going to speculate who this victim was.
If you're enjoying today's video, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe.
Thinking that there was something that happened, but actually the person that's in there didn't accuse Trump of something illegal. And so this is sort of the implication here with the Democrats saying, well, you're unredacting a victim's name, so
Also too, there's another point that I wanted to make, that even if, okay, like a lot of people that was on that island, maybe there've not been a lot of people that probably participated in the whole Epstein festivities, and they probably was just there to probably have like a good time, and he maybe the like I'm thinking about it like this. It's probably like maybe like the Diddy parties. Like maybe when Diddy had those parties, maybe a select few of people who was there to attend the after parties, and they seen a lot. And then those people who was just there to have a good time, to be at a party, they probably was there. Maybe it could have been the same thing for Epstein. Like it could have been just they was on the island, right? And maybe there was a subsection of people who got to experience the backstage activities, and then those who was just there for a good time was just there for a good time. It's a possibility that could have happened, right? Because I know everybody's blowing it out of proportion, as they should, because we don't really know what really went on that island. We have speculations and we have a few ideas and maybe some suspects and people who did participate, but we don't fully know the real story behind it. We just know, oh, everybody was on it, they did this and that, but we need more details. And unfortunately, they're giving us like snippets of what really happened and what really went on. But I kind of do hope that one of these days that they can release it in full rather than just releasing like bits and pieces, because that's all it really is. It's just like bits and pieces of what was happening, what went on. But I would prefer if they would have gave us the full story and released all of it. But I understand that both parties is kind of like playing sides and playing with the whole information on when to release and when not to release, what not to release type shit. So that's what I would like.
That's been the battle there. Specifically, the second email, by the way, just further confirms it. It says blank worked at Mar-a-Lago. She was one of the ones that accused Prince Andrew. In the Democrat copy, all of that was redacted because, of course, it gives away the fact that we are talking about, once again, Virginia Giuffre. Also, in these emails released by the Republicans, it says blank worked at Mar-a-Lago. Trump knew of it, came to my house many times. He never got a massage. That's straight from Jeffrey Epstein clearing him of a massage, which obviously is the one person you most don't want to get a massage from. So honestly, that is good for him, which is obviously why they released it. Begging the question why they didn't release it sooner. Maybe it's because they didn't want people to know that Trump knew about the girls. Now, one thing I want to talk about is the fact that Epstein is saying, hey, look, Trump publicly said that it was me that he asked to stop, but actually it was Ghislaine that he asked to stop. And my question here is, if it is Maxwell that was the one who poached Virginia Giuffre from Mar-a-Lago and then trafficked her, then why is she getting so much special treatment?
You know, that's a good and fair point by CoffeeZilla about like how come like she's getting so much special treatment. I mean, even though she was in prison, but then she came out, and then there's like, I guess, deals, right, that's being made for her. But I don't get that. Like, you would think that with all of the Epstein stuff that happened, of the whole him so-called taking his own self in prison, which I'm like, we all still questioning about that, right? And then for her to not have the same treatment, I thought she was. I thought somebody KO'd her shit, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, she's most likely. But would it have been too conspicuous if they would have done them both in, or was it, or is there like a bigger game here? Because I mean, because here's the thing, because again, unless somebody got into her and said, well, you're going to say what you need to say, but don't say anything else, then sure. But I mean, come on now. There was a lot of powerful people that was on that island. So you would think she sort of technically feared for her life, because if the government is, or anybody in the government branch that's like, well, you need to say this and that, then we don't know. Because there's a lot of conspiracies that you can say with the like the Epstein files, and who's on it, who's on the take, right? Who has power? Like, there's a lot of strings that's being pulled here, and I'm pretty sure she's trying to be on the right string where it doesn't end up in a body bag for her. Like, she's not trying to end up in a body bag or in a ditch somewhere. So she's, I guess, playing the best of her abilities and saying what needs to be said in order for her to like get out of this situation. Because again, there's a lot of powerful people that was on that island, and a lot of talks to be made here. So I'm pretty sure she's not trying to have anything bad to happen to her or maybe her family. So she's trying to play the right cards, and maybe if she did come to some sort of form of agreement, then maybe they're going to try to shift the narrative a little bit, right? We don't know what's happening. We don't know what can happen with Maxine, but I'm pretty sure she's not trying to have anything happen to her. So I'm pretty sure she's trying to maybe say things that's not going to get her KO'd somewhere. So I'm pretty sure she's trying to maybe spin it. Maybe it was all on Epstein and she was just along for the ride, right? We don't know what they're going to try to spin with the story, but It is interesting that nothing happened to her yet, because I thought it already did, but we just gonna wait and see.
I mean, that is the part where the Republicans don't look good at all. I mean, what is going on with Ghislaine Maxwell, a convicted sex offender, trying to get a pardon, getting Todd Blanche to give her a softball interview, and then she immediately gets preferential treatment. Look, we've been over the fact that she's at basically a special prison in Bryan, Texas, where normally someone of her status wouldn't be allowed to go to because it's too nice, it's too low security. But in addition to that, new reports are saying that top officials at Camp Bryan are sick of being Maxwell's bitch. Federal law enforcement staff working at the camp have been waiting on Maxwell hand and foot, including, by the way, reportedly she's been given a puppy as part of the preferential treatment. She's...
Huh?
That's funny. He said she's getting a puppy. She has a puppy, a special treatment in prison. So that means she's like, I want me a Salisbury steak, Salisbury steak. I want me Wagyu. I want me lobster, right? And fresh salad too. Oh, and some wine, by the way. Chop, chop. And I want a nice puppy too. That's fucking crazy. Who, man, if you don't see this as the highest order of corruption, it's insane to me. Because come on, she was down with it. You would think this woman would get like life, prison, right? Like, yeah, she get to say her piece, but then she's getting life. Nah, she getting special treatment. That is insane to me. That's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you, there has to be some sort of form of she's playing it safe. She's not trying to say the wrong things, right? They have a narrative, they have a story that they're trying to work. It's all about working the angle, people, and you have to pay attention to the angle that certain people are trying to work. And this is one of them. This is exactly one of them. And I think that with everything said and done, she's out. I think she's walking. I think when all this Epstein stuff eventually dies, she's walking. I highly doubt anything is gonna probably happen to her, but she's most likely gonna walk. I mean, special treatment. That's crazy. I get a puppy. Give me my fucking Wagyu steak, gang. Stop fucking playing with me. And he said, I'm trying to be this bitch. That's funny.
He's been receiving. Overwhelmingly, Maxwell has been getting a super nice ride in all of this. This, of course, makes us all wonder, once again, what do they have on Trump? I mean, why treat her like this if she doesn't have something compromising in all of that? It just kind of begs some questions you probably don't want to ask. Also very suspicious is the fact that immediately after this report came out, Trump personally called Rep. Lauren Boebert, urging her to withdraw support for releasing the Epstein files. Bondi, Blanche, and Patel were going to meet today about the Epstein files. This, of course, is furthering the idea the White House has no interest in this story. I think Trump tweeted multiple times today about the Epstein hoax. Again, we've heard that a million times. And the question is, why are you acting so suspicious if you have nothing to hide, right?
Well, that's easy. He's guilty.
Right? If you didn't get the massage, which Epstein says, why, what are you hiding? Why are you so worried about all this stuff coming out? By the way, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was actually asked about the White House pressuring people to get them not to sign for the release of the Epstein files, and her response was pretty insane.
Why are White House officials then meeting with Representative Boebert in an effort to try and get her to not sign this petition calling for the release of the files?
Doesn't it show transparency that members of the Trump administration are willing to brief members of Congress whenever they please? Doesn't that show our level of transparency? Doesn't that show the level of transparency when we are willing to sit down with members of Congress and address?
See, when a man is trying to suppress everything and trying to like silence people and keep saying it's a hoax and it's not true, it's like, come on, my boy, you guilty, you guilty of some shit. Because a person who's not guilty will be like, man, I ain't got nothing to hide. I don't got nothing to hide, right? And just tell what needs to be said. Like, man, I ain't do this and that, show proof, blah blah blah. But a guilty man, he probably did some shit. He probably participated in something, right? Or if he didn't, right, and you got like some weird people out there who want to try to spin a narrative and say that he did, then you can look at it that way and too, be like, oh, okay, you can sort of understand, but I don't know. I think my boy kind of guilty. I think he kind of guilty on this one. So I don't know, because he's not saying it. He just keep dismissing it like, oh, it's a hoax. At one point, he said, "Yeah, we're gonna release it. Yeah, we're gonna talk about it." Then all of a sudden, oh, it's a hoax. Must have found something out, and they was like, "No, no, 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 that shit's a hoax. That shit's a hoax. They just trying to take me down." It's like, nah, my boy, I think you kind of guilty, unless you say otherwise. I don't know.
Their concerns.
It shows transparency to try to go and block files being released on the world's most prolific. But the fact we know about it, that's the transparent part. It's just insane. I mean, that's the kind of spin we've expected with this story all along. That's been part of what's been so frustrating about all of this. So look, I want to get back to this story because there's so many people involved here. We're just going to go through one by one. I mean, look, it's a lot more than just Trump. Like, one person that got kind of a weird stray in all of this was the fact that Epstein talked about Hillary doing naughties with Vince.
Problem is, it's just Hillary. But what about Bill? We heard Bill was there. We heard other people that was also there. Like I said, I understand we can talk about Trump, but you got to throw in them Democrats too, like those people who was actually there too. If you got to make it fair, it's fair. You know, I understand. You know, you want to talk about Trump, but there was more other people that was also involved and who was on that island as well. So fair is fair.
Vince being Vince Foster, a White House counsel. There was a rumor about Clinton and Vince having some kind of affair, and then later Vince was found dead of suicide. And this is where we see Jeffrey Epstein and Michael Wolff's kind of symbiotic relationship. Michael Wolff is a journalist who has been prolific in all of this. Well, I struggle to call him a journalist, actually, because as we'll find, he was more like a PR guy for Epstein. But he was actually asking Epstein and using Epstein for a lot of access to information, because Michael Wolff actually told Jeffrey Epstein, hey, basically, I'm interviewing him this afternoon. Anything you think I should ask? And he's talking about Trump. Epstein replies, do you want to be provocative? Michael Wolff says, job is to get the hard ones in without being ejected from the room. What's the one that pierces through? Jeffrey Epstein basically says, hey, you can do this softball. That's a Hillary problem. He would smile, and then you can ask about his relationship with the Electricians Union and Mar-a-Lago, and out you go. Obviously hinting to the idea that he's going to get kicked out if he asks about more sensitive subjects. Michael Wolff asks about, hey, what's up with Foster? And then he describes what that's all about. And this brings us to Michael Wolff.
Even just by looking at his face, you can he looked crazy. You could tell by his face. He probably do look like he was involved in some shit. Looking at his damn face, nah, he looked weird.
Who I want to spend a little bit of time here on. Although some of you may not know as much about him, you may be less interested in him. I think he's one of sort of the worst looking people in all of this. Actually, after reading these emails, he may be the most disgusting person that comes out of that. And that's saying a lot given what's in here. But I want to just show you this because actually the Democrats initially released was this idea was that Michael Wolff and Epstein were basically planning how to respond to Epstein being brought up in the context of Trump. Michael Wolff says, I hear CNN is planning to ask Trump about his relationship with you, either on air or in Scrum afterwards. Epstein says, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? That being interesting because it's like, wait, were they in touch with Trump at this time? Because Trump denied being in contact with Epstein basically since early 2000s. But anyway, if he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you valuable PR or political currency. You can hang him in a way that generates a positive benefit for you. Or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey's a good guy that's gotten a raw deal and is victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in the Trump regime. Now, if it doesn't sound like PR, it might be sounding like blackmail to you. It's like kind of a little bit of both. Michael Wolff is basically conspiring to generate a debt for Jeffrey Epstein from Trump, who is about to become the most powerful person on the planet. So that's really bizarre because Michael Wolff has positioned himself as sort of this truth teller about Jeffrey Epstein and he's got all these tapes that he's going to release showing how close Trump and Epstein were.
All right, so I'm going to leave the rest of this in the comment section down below, but yeah, it does seem like there was like some sort of PR team that was trying to be spent around like the whole Jeffrey Epstein bit. And then it does seem like they was maybe trying to do some sort of form of, I guess, control, maybe blackmail, future damage control, whatever, because it seems like there was an investigation looming on something that was eventually going to happen to like Epstein, because people like that who do illegal businesses, shady businesses for like a very long time, they always get paranoid and they always look out they always look to their left, they always look to their right to make sure that nobody's really coming after him. But the thing is, anybody who commits these types of felonies, crimes, or whatever, you will always have a Damocles of a sword hanging down on you because of the things and the crimes that you're committing on yourself, because eventually you will go down. Anybody who think that they're untouchable, bad stuff is eventually going to happen to them, because it was the same way with Diddy thought because he was very powerful and he had so many connections that nothing would happen to him. Now look at it, the man is out here making he's making sweet whiskey in prison, or some sort of fucking sweet cocktail or whatever that's in prison, right? Fucking toilet water and semen juice, whatever the fuck he's making, right? And then Epstein, a guy who's been committing all types of crimes throughout his life, and to eventually his last crime finally got to him, and then some powerful people's most likely got to him in prison. And now when you look at it in this case, it's just that there's more people out there who's probably just like Epstein, and maybe far worse, that haven't been exposed yet, but eventually they will get exposed too. And it's just going to take a matter of time until all of that just gets brought out. But I know that this stuff takes years and years and years, and for even sometimes decades, for the truth to even get exposed. But eventually these people will get exposed at some point in time. It's just that it's going to take a minute. It's going to take a while for this to happen. But with the whole Maxine shit, that's it's ridiculous, like, to get special treatment. But like I said, I think there's a rabbit hole that goes even deeper than what is currently given to us. But unfortunately, that's not gonna be exposed into, like I said, decades. It can take years, it can take decades, right? Because I think people is going to be talking about the Epstein case for a very long time, right? You can compare like the Epstein case to the JFK case, where people still talk about it even to this day, even though it's been like 60, 70 plus years, right? Ever since that time. And I think the Epstein files and the Epstein case itself is going to be the same thing, where people are still going to be talking about it. But I will leave your thoughts and your comments and your concerns in the description down below. And like, comment, subscribe, and catch you all in the next one.